Please, just let my back rest for a minute, Aminata Kabali whispered, her voice barely audible. Her hands trembled as she slid onto the cold marble floor. The chill bit at her wrinkled skin, traveling up her arms to her exhausted back. Aminata was kneeling in the master bathroom of her son's vast mansion, a luxurious room tiled in glossy white with golden fixtures, a large freestanding bathtub, and a scent of chemicals that burned her nostrils. She was scrubbing the tile behind the toilet, a narrow spot where even a young woman would struggle to squeeze. At over 60 years old, she should never have been in that crouched space, her back broken, her knees on fire. Her bones cracked like wood every time she bent a little further. But she kept going, strapped to her back with a hastily knotted wrapper. Her 2 small grandchildren, her son's twins, squirmed and cried. Their warm, small bodies weighed heavily on her spine, so weakened that she sometimes felt a vertebra might give way. The fabric straps dug into her skin like knives. The smell of bleach she used to clean stung her eyes and throat, mixing with the sweat running down her forehead. A sweat that was not just from effort, but also from shame. Every scrub of the sponge was a battle against pain, against fatigue, against humiliation. She could barely breathe, her breath short, but she didn't stop. She couldn't stop, because if she did, she would be accused of being useless. The cruel mistress, standing in the doorway, arms crossed over her chest, was Ayada, her daughter-in-law, a young, elegant woman, her clothes always neatly pressed, her face perfectly made up. She watched the old woman as one observes an object, a machine that is malfunctioning. If you want to live here, Aminata, then prove you are useful, she snapped in a cold, sharp voice. Each word pierced Aminata's heart like a needle. She lowered her head, avoiding the young woman's gaze. Her hands trembled more, but she continued to scrub. She felt her dignity slipping, dissolving, disappearing, tile after tile. She felt small, exhausted, invisible. She thought of her son, Ibrahim, her only child. The child she had raised alone after her husband's death. The child for whom she had sacrificed her youth, her nights, her health, her dreams. The child who had promised her, "Mama, I will protect you until the end. You won't lack anything." She didn't want to be a burden to him. She didn't want to ruin his new life as a couple. That is why she remained silent. That is why she endured everything. But that morning, fate decided otherwise. For by pure chance, or perhaps by justice, Ibrahim returned home from work earlier than expected. He walked up the stairs quietly, expecting to find a peaceful house, his wife smiling, his mother resting. He was even about to call out, "Mama, Ayada, I'm home." But when he opened the bathroom door, he stopped dead. His heart seemed to freeze in his chest. The shattering truth. Before him, he saw a scene he would never forget. His mother, his gentle mother, his strength, his light, was kneeling on the floor, her knees red, her hands trembling, her back bent like a leaf about to tear. The twins, strapped to her, were still crying. Detergent ran down her fingers, and behind her stood Ayada, arms crossed, her gaze cold. What he believed to be a house filled with love and harmony revealed itself in an instant as a scene of silent suffering. His perfect world shattered. Ibrahim felt a cold rage rise in his chest, a mixture of sadness, shame, and guilt. He took a step toward his mother. "Mama, what are you doing on the floor?" Aminata tried to straighten up. Immediately, her face contorted in pain. Her knees slipped, her back buckled. "Ibrahim, it's nothing. I just wanted to help." But her voice was cracking, as if she had been carrying a weight too heavy for too long. Ayada immediately intervened in an annoyed but falsely sweet tone. "Ibrahim, she insists on cleaning, you know. She wants to make herself useful. I tried to stop her, but you know how the elderly are." But Ibrahim was no longer listening to her. His gaze remained fixed on his mother, on her suffering, on everything he hadn't seen. And in his chest, something shattered in turn. The moment Aminata tried to stand, her knees gave way immediately. A muffled moan escaped her lips, but she tried to conceal it as if showing her pain was a crime. Ibrahim rushed to her, his hands supporting hers, horrified by their lightness, their fragility. Her fingers smelled of years of work, of sacrifices, of accumulated fatigue. His heart ached, Mama, what is happening? Did you really want to do this? He asked in a broken voice. Aminata opened her mouth, but no whole word came out. Just a weak gasp, a gasp that said more than any sentence. The lie unravels. Behind them, Ayada slowly advanced, a tight smile fixed on her face, a smile too polite, too perfect. Ibrahim, you're being dramatic. Your mother keeps saying she wants to help. Cleaning does her good. She feels useful. But beneath the honeyed tone, something vibrated, an irritation she could no longer control. Ibrahim looked up at her, and he saw a reflection in her eyes that he had never noticed. Impatience, contempt, something hard that had no place in a loving home. The heavy silence of the bathroom was suddenly invaded by memories, flooding Ibrahim's mind. He remembered the evenings he came home late, finding his mother sitting on the sofa, her legs swollen, her eyes dim, but always ready to tell him, "I'm fine, my son. Go rest." He remembered her often red hands, the smell of detergent on her clothes, the little grimaces she made, thinking he wasn't watching. He had always wanted to believe it was just the fatigue of old age. Never would he have imagined this. Never would he have thought that his mother, the one who had given everything for him, was being treated like a servant in his own house. And now that he saw clearly, every detail he had ignored took on a cruel meaning. He felt shame burn his chest. How could he have missed all this? How had he seen nothing, understood nothing? He gently took Aminata's hand, the hand he had protected all his life, and a shiver of guilt ran through him. That day, in that cold bathroom, Ibrahim understood that his silence and his blindness had allowed his mother's suffering to grow in the shadows. The stand. Ibrahim remained still for a long moment, still holding his mother's hand. He felt as if the floor beneath him had just opened up, releasing a truth too heavy, too painful to bear all at once. His heart beat violently as if trying to flee his own chest. Aminata's curved back, trembling fingers, slumped shoulders, and short breath told a silent story. She looked like a woman who had carried too much weight for too long, and he hadn't seen it. Or rather, he hadn't looked as he should have. He had lived under the illusion that everything was fine simply because she said it was, because it was easier, because he was too busy, too naive, or too cowardly to see. He gently helped Aminata sit on the edge of the bathtub. She leaned against the rim, her face pale, breathing softly as if the slightest breath hurt. Ibrahim felt something break inside him seeing her in that state. He then slowly stood up, his posture changing. His gaze, once gentle and peaceful, became darker, harder. He turned to Ayada, and there, for the first time, he truly looked at her, not as his wife, not as the mother of his children, but as a woman capable of letting her own mother-in-law suffer like this. Ayada met his gaze, but she seemed slightly unsettled. Her forced smile slipped a little. "Ibrahim, I've been explaining to you. Your mother insists on doing things. She wants this. We can't forcibly restrain her," she said with a shrug. Her tone was a mix of annoyance and justification. She spoke as if it were all a simple misunderstanding, as if Aminata were exaggerating, as if Ibrahim were being dramatic. But something in Ayada's voice was false, too high, too fast, too rehearsed. Ibrahim felt a chill of anger rise in his back. He took a breath before speaking, but his voice came out colder than expected. "My mother wants to do this. You want me to believe that my mother, who can barely stand, wants to clean behind the toilet with 2 babies strapped to her back." Ayada opened her mouth, but no words came out. She briefly looked away as if searching for an answer in the air. Ibrahim continued, advancing slowly toward her. "Do you know what I can't understand? How could you watch an elderly woman suffer like this every day, for weeks, perhaps months, without saying anything, without intervening, without respecting her? How?" There was a raw pain in his voice, a pain that came from the heart of a child who had just understood that his mother had suffered in silence, right under his roof. An adult child who suddenly felt small, powerless, and guilty. Ayada shook her head in annoyance. "Ibrahim, you're imagining things. I have always respected your mother. Always. But you know how older people are. They want to feel useful. They imagine things. She prefers to do it herself and wait." "You are lying," Aminata murmured, her voice weak but clear. That simple word was like a clap of thunder in the room. Ayada whirled around to face the old woman, her eyes wide, How dare you say I'm lying, Aminata? You. But Ibrahim raised his hand, interrupting his wife. Let her speak. Aminata bowed her head, her hands twisted on her knees. She seemed to be fighting something inside her. Fear, shame, the weight of all the years she had chosen silence to protect her son, the weight of all the humiliations she had swallowed not to bother him. Ibrahim knelt before her, his eyes seeking hers. Mama, tell me the truth, I beg you. Tears burned Aminata's eyes. She inhaled slowly as if each word would be an effort. And finally she spoke. I didn't want to worry you, my son. I didn't want to create problems in your home. I just wanted you to be happy. Her voice broke. So I agreed. I cleaned. I washed. I carried the children. I did what she asked, even when I was in pain, even when I couldn't bear it anymore. Because I didn't want to be a burden to you. The final words. These words fell into Ibrahim's heart like stones. He felt his breath catch in his throat. He struggled to breathe. His own happiness had been built on his mother's silent suffering, and he hadn't seen it. He hadn't protected her. Ayada crossed her arms, frustrated. There. You see, she never said anything. How was I supposed to guess she didn't want to? If she didn't speak, it means she agreed. Ibrahim slowly rose, his gaze scorching. No, she didn't speak because she was afraid, because she wanted my home to remain peaceful. She remained silent not by choice, but out of love. Ayada opened her mouth to retort, but he cut her off sharply. And you let her do it. Worse, you pushed her to do it. You used her. Ayada stiffened. Used her? You exaggerate. I just encouraged her to help when I was overwhelmed. It's not a crime. That's not what I saw, Ibrahim replied. I saw you look at her as if she were an object. I saw you standing there, arms crossed, while my mother broke her back cleaning behind a toilet when she could barely walk. His fists involuntarily clenched. And you want me to believe you love her? That you respect her? Ayada, my mother is an elderly woman, not your servant. Ayada's face hardened, cold. A veil of pride crossed her eyes. Ibrahim, I am your wife, the mother of your children. You are not going to start treating me like a stranger in my house. He shook his head. This house doesn't belong to anyone who treats my mother like that. The room fell silent, the kind of silence that precedes a storm. Aminata, trembling, tried to intervene. Ibrahim, I don't want conflict, I just... He placed his hand on his mother's, with a gentleness that contrasted with the anger in his eyes. Mama, you will never again say, I don't want to disturb. Never again. You are not a burden. You are my mother. His eyes glistened with tears. And for the first time, Ayada understood something. She had lost control, and perhaps she was losing much more. The ultimatum. Ayada was speechless. She had never seen her husband speak to her with such coldness. This sudden change disarmed her. Ibrahim, are you really going to take this attitude with me? She challenged, stepping forward. All this for what? For a misunderstanding? For a moment when she might have felt a bit fragile. Ibrahim looked at her, and his gaze was so hard that she froze. Stop, he said simply. Stop with your excuses. They no longer hold up. He continued before she could speak. I want you to tell me the truth. Not a made-up scene, not a justification. The truth. How long has my mother been cleaning the house, washing the floors, carrying the children, doing tasks that even a young woman would struggle to do alone? Ayada bit her lip, hesitating between sincerity and lies. She chose a path she knew best. Ibrahim, stop being dramatic. You know how old people are. They want to show they exist. She wanted to help you. I never forced her. Aminata, still sitting on the edge of the bathtub, closed her eyes. She knew that way of speaking too well, that way of reversing roles. She had heard it so many times. So you're telling me that my mother, at her age, with her back, with her pain, not only wanted to clean the toilet but also carry the twins on her back while scrubbing the floor? Ibrahim asked, slightly raising his voice. Ayada looked away, irritated. She said the twins only wanted her back, that it calmed them down. I wasn't going to fight her over it. Aminata opened her eyes, and this time the pain in her gaze pierced Ibrahim like an arrow. She spoke in a soft but trembling voice. That's not true, Ibrahim. She put them on my back, saying it was faster that way. Ayada turned abruptly, her face hardening. Stop lying, Aminata. You never said a word. Never. Ibrahim turned back to his wife with a slowness that made Ayada tremble. And you find it normal that she has to speak up for us to stop mistreating her? You find it normal that she has to complain when she's already suffering? Don't you see the problem? Ayada stepped back slightly. For the first time, she felt cornered. Losing control scared her. Ibrahim, listen to me, I beg you. You are interpreting things too radically. It's not what you think. I'm overwhelmed. You work, the children. Sometimes I ask for a little help. Yes, but it's not that serious. Not that serious, he repeated, his voice broken. Look at her. Look at my mother. Look at her back, her knees. Look at what you found normal. He took a step toward her, but not to attack. Rather, like a man realizing he no longer recognizes the person opposite him. Ayada, I don't understand. How could you let this happen? How could you witness this and do nothing? She felt the panic rising. Ibrahim, don't you understand? Are you abandoning me like this? Are you taking her side? He raised his hand to stop her. This is not about taking a side. It's about justice, about respect. And you have disrespected my mother. You humiliated her. You exploited her without ever questioning yourself. Ayada found herself speechless. She hadn't foreseen the situation taking this turn. She thought Ibrahim, as usual, would smooth things over, try to appease everyone. But this time, he wasn't trying. This time, he saw everything. The final decision. Ayada, I don't know how we will move forward after this. I don't even know if you realize the gravity of what you have done. You don't see the suffering. You only see your comfort. You only see yourself. Ayada shook her head, tears of anger beginning to fill her eyes. You have no idea of the pressure I live under. None. I have to manage the house, the children, your absence. And what was my mother supposed to manage then? He replied, his voice heavy. Her old age, her pain, her silence. He sighed deeply. I wanted a strong woman, not a hard woman. Ayada felt her legs tremble. Ibrahim finally turned to Aminata, gently helping her stand. Mama, from today onward, no one will ever hurt you again. I promise you. Aminata burst into silent sobs. She had been waiting for that promise for a long time. Ayada crossed her arms again. So now I'm a monster? Is that it? You dare to say that to your wife? Ibrahim looked at her, and his face darkened further. I didn't say that, but I see a woman who profoundly lacks humanity. A woman who thinks my mother is a burden. A woman who finds it normal for an old woman to suffer in silence as long as she can keep the house clean and smile in front of guests. Ayada recoiled again. Ibrahim, you will regret those words. He replied calmly. The only regret I have is not having opened my eyes sooner. That sentence caused something to collapse in Ayada's heart. The knock. Ibrahim remained standing for a long moment facing Ayada, who seemed to shrink with every second, as if the walls were closing in on her. She opened her mouth to speak, then closed it again. All her usual composure, all her pride, all her confidence crumbled. Aminata watched the scene, her heart heavy. She was afraid, not for herself, but for her son. She didn't want to break his home. Ibrahim, my son, calm down, she murmured softly, even though her voice still trembled. Mama, I am calm. I just see the truth now. Ayada finally let out a nervous sigh. Ibrahim, what do you want me to say? That I'm a monster? Is that what you want to hear? Do you want me to kneel too to prove I'm not a bad person? Ibrahim shook his head. I don't want to humiliate you, Ayada. I just want you to own up to what you did. Look at my mother. Really look at her. Her back is broken. She breathes with difficulty, and you are the one who put her in the state. Ayada became red with anger. You exaggerate, Ibrahim. I never hit her. I never forced her. She could have said no. Aminata closed her eyes. That phrase, she could have said no, pierced her heart. It was so unfair, so cruel. She whispered in a faint voice. Sometimes, we say yes when we no longer have the strength to say no. Ibrahim clenched his fists. Ayada looked away. Before he could respond, a loud noise echoed at the front door. Knock, knock, knock. The 3 knocks resonated in the house like a warning. Ayada jumped. Ibrahim frowned. Aminata felt her heart pound. Who could be coming now? She murmured. Ibrahim walked toward the entrance. Every step echoed on the living room tile. He placed his hand on the doorknob, took a short breath, then opened the door. 2 men stood before him. One wore a dark suit, holding a briefcase. The other, an impeccably pressed police uniform. The first man bowed slightly. Mr. Ibrahim Diabate? Yes, that's me. I am Maitre Seko Traore, lawyer. And this is Captain Duacone.